Yes, guys. Hello and welcome back to the SpursRelated YouTube channel. I hope everyone has had a great week so far. Today, we are going to be rounding up all the latest transfer news, including about Tottenham Hotspur legend and captain Heung-min Son, and a couple of new links that have come out today, as well as updates on Kudus and updates on other players that we were already linked with. But if you do enjoy these videos, if you do enjoy these videos, whack a smash a like. Doing well today. Smash a like on the video. That would be much appreciated. You guys are smashing the support lately. Around 1,000 or 2,000 views per episode. I really appreciate the people that watch on catch up and pop their comments into the YouTube comment section. So keep doing that. I keep replying to every single one of you. And yeah, really appreciate everything on the channel so far. But I'm back alongside not Thomas Frank, but Frank Thomas, our very own AI version of him. Frank, how are you doing, mate?
I'm all right. I'm looking forward, as always, to talking about some, hopefully, new signings.
Perfect. Yeah, looking forward to it. And guys, we'll do a little 30 or so minute roundup today. So we're going to get through it quite quick. Yes, let's do this. Let's get through it. So the first bit of news is about, as I said, Tottenham Hotspur captain Heung-min Son. And obviously there's been a lot of talks of whether he's going to Saudi Arabia, the MLS, in America, or is he staying at Tottenham? Well, the latest news today points more towards the fact that he should be staying around at the club. I know Frank has got a little bit more detail on this than me, but just to get your thoughts in the chat, guys, let us know what you're thinking. Put your comments about Son. Do you think it's the right thing to keep him around for another season? Do you think we should have potentially cashed in on him before his value essentially becomes free? Frank, over to you. Like, tell us what has happened today and who is reporting that he should be staying around.
So it's a report from in Korea itself. The general idea is that he'll meet Thomas Frank next week, and the decision is he wants to stay. Now, obviously, if Tottenham choose to cash in on him, then I mean, he has a choice, but he can, I'm sure there'll come some sort of agreement. But the idea is that he wants to stay. They're in the Champions League again next year. We're in the Champions League again next year, and he wants to be part of that. And that's I don't mind that. I think that's all right. I mean, we sort of spoke about it the other day, and whether from a commercial point of view, do you make more keeping him for another year than you would from the fee this summer? And this sort of thing. But to be honest, I would like, we spoke about it again with Kudus, and we'll come on to him, another winger. I'd like another option. But if Son's someone that you can have to come off the bench with 25 minutes to go, and you're drawing 1-1 at Everton next year, or whoever it be, and you've got Son as an option on the bench, I mean, it's a really good option. Do I want him to stay and be a continued starter next year? No, I don't. But I also think he might work in Frank's system to an extent, in that inside sort of role where he was brilliant under Pochettino, and he can be a runner again. Despite losing probably a little bit of his pace and whatever, and sharpness. But on the whole, I think I'd be all right with him staying as long as I say that he isn't still the first choice left winger, because I think he's slowly declining.
Yeah, no, 100%. He's, like you said, he has lost quite a bit of his pace. He's 33 now. He's, at the end of the day, all players do decline, especially when you get over sort of 32 years old mark. So yeah, no, I mean, I'm hardly surprised that, I say I'm hardly surprised. I'm quite surprised he's staying around. I really did think we were going to cash in. What's my feeling? Similar to you, I think, looking at playing him more centrally, utilizing his amazing finishing ability. Although again, the stats would say that that's sort of declined a little bit, although still scoring a decent amount of goals. Yes, it's not quite prime Son, but he does contribute quite a lot, and it's good to have an experienced head in the dressing room. I personally will never say a bad thing about Heung-min Son. I love the guy. I think he's an absolute legend, and at the end of the day, like we said before, Frank, he's the one that should make that decision. It's on him to make a decision whether he wants to stay around. He's earned that right, hasn't he?
Massively. I mean, the fact that he's chosen to stay around to this point should almost give him that right. So, as you say, has earned that right to now decide on the rest of his future. I mean, there's certain players that I won't mention that moved to Bayern Munich at a given chance, or wanted to go to City at any given chance. But the fact that he stayed around is, a credit to his character and who he is. And so for that reason, he deserves that choice to be his, basically.
100%. 100%. Okay, well, there we go. Heung-min Son, guys, let us know in the comments below. Are you happy that he's sticking around for a little bit longer? Have you got mixed emotions? Good afternoon to Carl, who's in here. Big up yourself, mate. Always been a big supporter of the channel. Appreciate you, mate. Hope you're doing well. And guys, write your comments in on the live or on the repeat. Let us know what you think about Sonny. Than that big news today. But let's get into a bit more about sort of why we haven't seen much going on at Tottenham Hotspur so far. And apparently there's a few reasons for this, according to Alistair Gold today in a write-up. And that includes the fact that Spurs are an asset-rich club rather than a cash-rich one. And that there is a reason Levy publicly admitted to need for a new investment a year ago. Again, all to do with this cash flow sort of potential issue that we've discussed on the channel previously, and that some of the wages at the Premier League's biggest clubs are 2 to 3 times what Tottenham are believed to offer. And that's going back to what we were saying. I mean, we've said it for the last 2 or 3 lives, Frank. Like, some of the wages aren't even, I think pretty much all players are under 100k per week. I think again, I'd have to get it up. I think it's Son, Maddison. Is Solanke on even over 100 grand, potentially?
I'm not sure he was, but Timo Werner was until about last week. And they were paying all of that. But yeah.
There's also the fact that with any managerial change, the new man will want time to look at the squad that he's inherited. And this goes back to, like, Manor Solomon and, the players that are potentially going to be sold. Some of the younger players potentially loaned. So I guess he wants to see where he's at with those before he makes any big decisions, right? I mean, Frank, what do you make of this? Do you think it's just more excuses, or do you think genuinely there is a valid reason there why we haven't done anything so far?
I mean, they were probably the 3 key points from the article from Alistair Gold. And again, as I said the other day, I'm anti-Daniel Levy. I'm not here to back him up or support him because I don't want that to be what people think of me. But having said that, I do think there's truth in it. And I do think it's a fair argument. First of all, the idea that with any managerial change, he wants to see what he's got. And that's perfectly fair. I think they go back to training tomorrow, or the majority of them do. Some of the internationals don't, but the majority of them, Porro went back to there today. The Scoffich flew to London this week. And so a lot of them are going back tomorrow. So that's he'll get a feel over the next sort of week or so before. I think it's Reading is the first pre-season game. So before then, he'll have an understanding. So on that side, that makes perfect sense. And then when you look at the other bits about them being an asset-rich club, I think that's true. We have a lot going for us in the ground that we own fully. We have the training ground we own, and we have a squad of players that are valuable. They buy young players on long contracts. They're valuable players. Bergval's shot up in his value, and so on and so forth. And when you look around the Premier League, I think like Chelsea, for example, they own the seats in the stadium, but they don't own the pitch itself and things like that. And they've had to get rid of a lot of their assets in the last year to try and make a bit of money. And then you go through Villa this week, sold their women's team. I think it was Villa. Chelsea have done that as well. And so you go through, and we have a lot of assets. But I think the View from the Lane podcast I was listening to quite recently. And I can't remember who it was, but they had someone on there talking about finances and that Tottenham are actually right now quite poor. And so that investment is needed. But having said that, and again, I don't want to seem like I'm backing up again, Spurs over the last couple of years have spent actually a decent amount of money, but just quite badly. When you look, there were 60 million on Richarlison and the Brian Gill one we spoke about the other day. And so it kind of goes both ways in that I imagine Spurs will still spend 150 million pounds at least this summer. Between 150, 200, give or take, I think Tottenham will spend this summer. I mean, they near enough did last year, and we felt like we had a quieter window. And Solanke came in, Gray came in. I can't think of who else came in last summer. There was definitely another one that I'm forgetting. The year before they sold Kane, they spent just over 200, I think it was. So they spend money often badly. And that's largely part of the problem that needs to change. And then the wages is probably for me the most important part. And I said the other day that you could probably do a whole episode on this. That the simple fact is, I think it's 42% of their revenue goes on wages, which is one of the lowest in the Premier League. Yeah, we generate large amounts of revenue and things. I mean, Villa and Palace are both like 98%, which long term is probably unsustainable and will probably hurt them long term. But I think we need to up that. If you can up that to 60% or 55, 60, 70%, it's sustainable enough, but also you're going to be able to compete. And that's where Tottenham probably lack. So I think all three are probably relatively valid sort of arguments. And that's probably the main reason why we've actually done nothing yet.
Got it. No, good points. I just still find it incredible to believe that we're poor. Like, I do understand the financial ins and outs. Like, I did a whole video on it, but I still find it, despite these reports and this sort of analysis that, we're cash poor and that, we only have this amount. I mean, how can that be true? Like, sorry to try and make this very simplistic, and maybe I'm being too simple on this, but, we've got the F1 at the stadium, the thing under the car park. You've got the boxing that comes there, when there's big fights on. You've got the NFL. You've got all these concerts. I'm seeing 50 Cent there right now. There was Beyonce. You had, plus the Skywalk, plus everything else that is part of the Tottenham Hotspur incomings, not just the football club. How can we, I get it, because I get the whole Newcastle are being backed financially, huge investment, right? Even Villa have had big investment now. Chelsea, massive, of course, with Todd Bowley. But how, if we're generating profit all the time, where's this money going? What are we doing? I'm sorry, but I can't keep hearing that Tottenham Hotspur are poor, because it can't be true. Do you see what I mean? I get there needs to be an investment element. I understand that, to be able to compete with the big boys. But the amount of revenue streams we have, that to me doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, you make a fair point. The bit for me, I think, as I say, we've actually spent quite a lot of money in the last couple of years. Badly is the simple thing that, as I say, the Richarlison, £60 million. Even last summer we spent, and last summer, as I say, was deemed a quieter summer, and we probably didn't give Ange enough squad-wise, but they went and bought Gray at 40, Solanke at 67, I think it was. That the fees that Tottenham are paying for players now is going up. The problem that Tottenham have, and there's two main issues for me, is number one, the simple one of the stadium. The stadium, they have to pay off, and that takes time. We saw it with Arsenal that they're probably only in the last sort of 3 or 4 years now starting to really spend money, because they're sort of out of that period now. Having said that, you make the point about the concerts and all these different things that, in theory, we should be generating a load of money. They don't have stadium naming rights, which has pros and cons. It pushes the brand out there. But then you aren't bringing in 30 million, however much a year or whatever, which helps pay that off. And so there's a few reasons like that, and there's another one that's just completely out of my head whilst I'm talking. But there's a few sort of reasons like that again, not to back him up, but it goes both ways a little bit, and that's kind of the thing that is frustrating with it. That as a fan, maybe we don't necessarily always appreciate that. And I'm not backing him up at all, as I say.
Yeah, you're a Levy backer today, mate. I've heard it all. No,
I don't want to support him.
Listen, guys, let us know what you think in the comments on this point about, are you getting concerned? 4th of July, not much movement in the transfer market. Kota Takai obviously is soon to be. I don't even think it's been announced, is it, Frank? We've been talking about him. It's soon to be announced. We can confirm that is going to be other than technically Mateus Tell, our first signing. Not a lot other than that. Lots of talks, lots of, different players. And we're going to come on to a new player for the last few minutes of this stream. It's a short one today. I appreciate those guys tuning in. 35 people watching now. And I've got 8 likes on the video. I'm gonna have to try and set a goal, aren't I? I'm gonna have to try and set a goal of 50 likes. If you guys can smash that like button, that greatly is appreciated. Guys, let's talk about let's not moan about the signings, but let me know in the comments after, if you're watching on repeat, what you think on all this, news about why we've not spent. But
can I add one more thing just before we go on?
Go on.
Sorry, very quickly, it came back to me. My point that completely went out of my mind. It is one problem that Tottenham have quite badly is that we don't actually sell players for very much either.
True.
And that's an ownership problem. That's something that's like, if you look at the last, when I was thinking about the other day, the last sort of 5 players we've sold over 30 million. Kane for 100. Carl Walker was probably in there in the last 5. Bergeron was probably in the 20s, I think. So many players we write off. We wrote off Tanguy. Gio went for about 5 million quid. Christian Eriksen was written off. Matt Doherty was written off. Semenyo was written off. And that's a problem with the ownership. Like, other than Kane, and if Romero goes this year, that'll probably be quite a lot of money. But Dele was nothing. Eriksen was nothing. Vertonghen, now Devera, none of these guys were anything when we were at that point where we were playing really well. We kept them all and we stuck with them. And Son might now go for nothing or for very little. And so that's another issue that kind of maybe doesn't get thought about sometimes, is that we don't actually sell players, which is why it's really important that this summer they go to, if someone wants Basuma at 20 or 25, or someone wants Richarlison at 30, 35,
do it.
Are going to have to cash in on these guys.
Yeah, it's a good point. And you could take that with the Son as well, right? The fact we're going to keep him and he's going to go on a free. If you did get an offer this summer for 30 million for Son, could you argue that that's better to take? Or will one of these Saudi clubs pay 40 million? It's probably worth it for their exposure and like the commercial side of things. Simon's saying we've signed Max. I was going to say Verstappen there. I was too busy thinking about Silverstone. Max McFadden from Leeds. I'll be honest, I haven't seen this. Whether it's a different source, a tier 2 or 3 source. Usually, obviously, we discuss other tiers. Like, in terms of the tiers, if you guys aren't familiar, like tier 1 are like top established journalists like Fabrizio Romano, Alistair Gold. And then you've got the ones under that are sort of, I guess a little bit less credible. So I personally haven't seen this on a tier 1 source. Frank, correct me if I'm wrong. But apparently he's a young player. We were already talking about Leeds United and one of their strikers that we potentially are signing as well. So maybe it's maybe we're raiding Leeds' youth team.
That isn't the same one. I didn't think it was, because I saw we were linked to one the other day. I can't remember what his name was.
The striker, right?
Yeah, but I've got no clue. He's an attacking midfielder, this kid. I'm looking up now.
Okay.
I have no clue. He left Leeds on a free this week. Who knows?
Apparently it's on the Spurs website. We'll have to look into that. That is.
I'll do my research after this.
That is news to me. Okay, so guys, let's move on. Let's talk about that's the one we were talking about, Oliver Post. Right. New link. Well, it's sort of a new link, but also it's been in the pipeline for a little while. I say pipeline. It's been talked about for a little while. Richard Rios from Palmeiras in Brazil. And that is the new link today. Frank, I'm sure you've got the details from the journalist on you. But essentially, this guy we're going to bring up his stats as well. We want to know what you guys think of him. But in terms of a little bit more detail about him, he's a midfielder. And this is, let's get rid of that a second. This is his top stats. So he, in terms of percentile, if you guys are new to that sort of this system, essentially, if it's 90s or 80s, that means he's essentially one of the best at that attribute in his position. Okay, so basically, top 96 percentile for shots. He's very much a player that likes to get forward, take a lot of shots. Assists 0.23 per 90, not top 95 percentile. Pretty impressive again. Another one, 89, top 89 percentile for successful take-ons, around 1.13 per game. And blocks as well, top 95 percentile. This, to me, means he's a pretty gritty midfielder, likes to get forward, likes to shoot, likes to get past players. What is there not to like about this guy? I mean, listen, I've only seen a bit of footage of him. I don't sit on my weekend watching the Brazilian Serie A. I'll be honest, I don't. But listen, from what I've seen, very promising. Frank, do you want to tell us the latest about this update?
So it's actually not great news. And that Inter Milan have submitted a formal approach for him. They reckon a deal could be done for about 25 million euros, I think. Us, Forest, I think I read Palace and Everton are all kind of interested. He's one that I've seen Tottenham's name thrown about in the conversation with probably since about January, actually. And I've watched, as you say, bits on YouTube and whatever. I'm half tempted to stay up until the early hours of tomorrow morning and watch their game against Chelsea in the Club World Cup for the sole fact I kind of want to watch him.
Of course. Yeah, good point.
And I can hopefully celebrate when he does something good against them.
Celebrate if anyone does anything good against them.
Well, exactly. But yeah, I don't know enough to be brutally honest. He's played for Colombia 21 times, which is a good sign. He's big, again, which we said about the other day. Thomas Frank likes players that are big, that are physically tough, and as you say, he's a gritty midfielder that I think would suit. He's obviously a hard worker, and from everything I've kind of seen, he looks like someone that will actually get you off your seat a little bit. In that he's exciting, he's got a bit of flair. He kind of reminded me a little bit of the way he sort of moved of Ndombele, but a harder worker than Ndombele.
Don't. It's not Ndombele too, is it? It's not. But listen,
if he's a harder worker, I'll take it.
Like you said, it's not a positive update in the sense that Inter Milan have, you said, officially bid.
They've submitted a formal approach, so I guess the stage before.
Okay, so but we are in the midst for him. Apparently, we're sort of looking at him, and are we going to do something? It's Tottenham Hotspur. We're interested in players. Yeah, we admire the players. We haven't done anything yet, but. Listen, I said to you, I'm not going to have a meltdown until we get to the middle of July, and then I'm going to have a meltdown if we haven't done anything. But, Frank, I know you've only got around, a few minutes left. Guys, There is, hang on, just to stop a minute. Again, I said I wouldn't be doing this often, but there's about 60 people watching live now, which is crazy, across Facebook and YouTube. Absolutely love the support. There's 13 likes on the video. Can we somehow get to 40 likes? I've already dropped the goal a bit, haven't I, Frank? I've panicked. But no, guys, the like button is free to do so. It helps us out so much. And subscribe if you're enjoying the content. We're trying to bring you daily content, live streams, videos. And if you could all just smash the notification bell, you know where it is, next to the subscribe button, to never miss a live stream or a video from us. And I can promise you guys, you will enjoy the content for the rest of the summer, because we're bringing you unique content, but also transfer updates, which are obviously very important and very, very relevant. But, Frank, like I said, I think you've got to go very soon, mate. But if you've got time, one more I would like to discuss is... Yeah. Go on.
Guys, it's Tony De Winter.
Tony De Winter.
Koni.
Tony De Winter. There you go. I thought you were saying something about the winter. That's why I was kind of going. Go on.
I know very little. is the basic. I know probably more than I do about Ricky Rios though. This one we spoke about Lucaba the other day. This one makes far more sense to me than Lucaba. Number one, he's a lot cheaper. I think it was Ben Jacobs said today they reckon a deal could be done for just over £20 million. He's still got 3 years left on his contract, but he's right-footed, which we sort of said would make a bit more sense if Romero was to go. But the bit again kind of doesn't make sense to me is I think if they were going to sign sort of a cheap backup type one, it'd be a left-sided one. Whereas Lucaba was obviously you don't sign someone for £80 million and not play him, or Tottenham don't certainly. So but the last time we signed a defender that had played for both Genoa and Juve, it turned out to be Christian Romero. So I'm going to back that they've done their homework if it's true. I imagine that if it's true, then Fabio Paratici is probably involved in some regard. So he's young and quite exciting, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think just to give you a bit more background, guys, 23 years old, like Frank was explaining, right back in the centre back position. Sorry, right centre back rather, and market value wise between 20 and 30 million euros, according to Transfer Market, 22 million. But he's had a rise in the last year, which is interesting. So he's obviously performing pretty well. He's been at Juventus when he was 19 and 20. He was at Juventus. Then he went to Italy. He was also in Italy and Genoa. He's been at since at the end of 2023. So interesting stuff. Let's see how this one plays out. Let's see if there's any more sort of concrete news in the next, I guess, few days, and see if this one blossoms into something. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we talked about Lukaku the other day. That's all gone very quiet as well, Frank. So a lot of these centre-back options do pop up here and there, and then nothing really comes from it. But, guys, let me know if you know much about Koni de Winter. Would you be excited for this signing? Would you be excited if we can somehow get Richard Rios? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about Heung-min Son? Do you think it's the right decision to keep hold of him? Whack it in the comments below. And on the way out, smash a thumbs up, smash a subscribe, smash that notification bell. The notification bell is the one I love because it's like, you guys know when we're live, we're back on your screens, we're back giving you the updates. There's 50 of you watching on just YouTube now. Appreciate all the support. I really do. I really love interacting with you guys on this journey. I feel like you're all sort of part of it. Rodney Trotter's saying would be happy with both. Apparently he's on loan at Leeds as well. But, guys, really appreciate everyone tuning in. 5 p.m. today. We'll be back tomorrow for another transfer update. So make sure you stick around, subscribe, like, notification bell, and comment. And I'll see you lovely people tomorrow with hopefully all the other subscribers. New subscriber, Rodney Trotter. Absolutely love him. Big up yourself and big up everyone else that's a new subscriber. Frank and I will see you tomorrow. As always, remember, come on you Spurs!